last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah. Tell them that's life, yeah, it's still I be. I'm taking a shot for my enemies. I can't waste no more time on my energy. I know they know I got it on lock. Go against me, that's a long shot. Cause I'm counting wins all around the clock. Never doubt me, boy, I don't stop. Who do you feel when they make you the monster? I am not scared of none of you imposters. Taking the lead now while they watching. Think you should leave now while the option. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. I'm running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down, no.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac, and tonight our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Indiana Pacers, a team that was coming in very, very hot lately. Indy entered tonight's matchup on a 5-game win streak, the third longest active win streak at in the league at the moment, to Sacramento's 6th and Cleveland's 12th. Coming into this matchup. I mean, over that 5-game stretch, the Pacers had managed the NBA's second best offensive rating at 124 and its 8th best defense, which was rated at 108.8. And over that same 5-game span, Cleveland has the best offensive rating in basketball at a staggering 125.9, but defensively, they have seen better days as they have been the 23rd rated defense despite winning all 5 of their previous matchups. But even with that being the case, Cleveland's 12-game win streak as a whole on that, they've been the best offense in the league with an offensive rating of 124.9 and still within the top 10 defensively at 110.6. They've proven that they can win pretty, and they've proven that they can handle a team's best punches at times and survive slugfest. We know what's made Cleveland tick all season long. It starts at the top with Kenny Atkinson masterfully guiding the way with his timely rotations and play calling for the most part. On the court, it begins with the core 4, maybe more Darius Garland and Evan Mobley than ever this season, but Donovan Mitchell remains a top 15 player, and Jared Allen is often slept on. It trickles down to the deep bench that we have, who ranks top 10 in just about every relevant statistical category. And, you know, coming into tonight, we got kind of tricked, right? There was a post by the Cavaliers admin over on Twitter, X, whatever the fuck people call it these days, that hinted at Max Strus making his first start of the season, which would have been his first start since May 15th of 2024. That was game 5 of the Eastern Conference semis against Boston nearly 8 months ago. But literally 5 minutes before the game tipped off, we got a tweet that suggested that Dean Wade was entering the starting lineup, and that's exactly what happened. Meanwhile, the Pacers, my gosh, they have started to really take off as of late because they have returned to health, right? They've missed Andrew Nembhard and Ben Shepherd for significant portions of the season. Since they've both been back, the Pacers have gone 9-3 prior to tonight, absolutely playing some of the best basketball of their season. Ben Mathurin is playing more team-friendly basketball as Rick Carlisle has ironed out many more roles for that team. But honestly, the real catalyst, at least coming into tonight's game, or during their most recent stretch of ball, was Tyrese Haliburton, who was averaging 24.8 points per game, 3.4 rebounds, 10.8 assists, and 2 steals while completing 54.7% of his field goals, including 40.7% from three-point range. He's absolutely been killing it lately. In fact, entering tonight, he was actually just one of 2 players over the last 5 games to have averaged at least 24 and 10 and shoot over 50% from the field. The other being Nikola Jokic, which is pretty damn good company to be in, if you ask me. And it's no secret that Indy is often at its best when Haliburton is on, as indicated by the fact that when Tyrese scores 20 or more points, Indy had been 13 and 2, and they are just 8 and 16 when he doesn't. That tells you a lot. And don't get me wrong, Mathurin, Siakam, those guys are not non-factors, as we're getting ready to discuss here in a little bit. But the same can also be said for the likes of TJ McConnell, Miles Turner, Obi Toppin, and Andrew Nembhard. They aren't Indiana's engine, but they're still pretty damn dangerous, as we saw in that second half. Siakam, in particular, is one of only 11 players averaging at least 19.7 rebounds and shooting over 50% from the floor. And Mobley's on that list, by the way. Mathurin, despite his overall three-point percentage, has been a knockdown catch and shooter, converting over 46.4% of his catch and shoot looks. He's ninth in that area among players that with at least 30 catch and shoot triples. Turner is one of just 10 centers who've made at least 60 triples on the season. I'm not kidding when I say this. Miles Turner, the inevitable discussions that people continue to have centering around, the floor spacing bigs, right? Because Jared Allen and Evan Mobley have both been lumped into this conversation in terms of, do they fit together? And at a point in time, there were many fans among this fan base that believed that Miles Turner and the trade for him would have made sense. And when you look at a list like this, right? The big men snipers, the centers and power forwards out there doing big things. Wemby, these are the 10 players, if I'm not mistaken, that have each made over 60 triples. And Turner is on this list with 69, and he entered tonight shooting 39% from three-point range. You see some of the other big names on this list. Wemby, who's made 105. That's crazy that Wemby's been able to do that. Lowry, Cat, both Nikola's out there, Vucevic and Jokic. But these are some of the names that have managed to do that. And that's one thing that Miles Turner excels at. He would go just 2 of 6 from three-point range tonight, but it did feel like his triples were pretty back-breaking whenever he was able to knock them down. But I'll tell you what, this was one of the worst games in the second half. Well, I won't go worst games. This was one of the worst second halves of basketball that we have seen from this Cleveland Cavaliers team. It really was. The second half was a nightmare. I mean, I had this whole thing scripted out. I had a lot of different talking points here, but I can't lie, man. That second half really just took it all out of me. They were outscored 37-18. You heard that right. 37-18 in that third quarter alone. And much of it came off of turnovers. The Cavs, my friends, turned the ball over like 6 to 7 times in that third quarter alone. And it led to so many easy buckets on the opposite end of the floor for Pascal Siakam and the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers, and I'll just say this, they were pretty shitty in that first half, and that includes Tyrese Haliburton and Siakam himself. Siakam was limited to 2 of 10 at the half for just 4 measly points. Haliburton was 1 of 5 for 2 points. The Pacers as a team shot just 33.3% from the field, including 16.7% from distance in that first half, as the Cavaliers defense seemed to really clamp down. And then it was announced that Haliburton wouldn't return due to hamstring soreness. Did they quit? Absolutely not. The Cavaliers held a 53-40 lead heading into that third quarter. And Indy kept scratching and clawing their way back behind the efforts of Siakam and others. They trimmed what was a 13-point lead down to just 2 behind strong defensive work, including a mean, and I mean absolutely vicious full court press. It was pretty. The Cavaliers could not get past it at times. I'll just put it that. It bothered the Cavs so badly to the point at which they ended up tying the game 65-all before we knew it. The Cavaliers would not record a field goal for felt like an eternity. Of course, it didn't help that they turned the ball over nearly every possession, 6, if I'm not mistaken, in that third quarter alone. But they had a stretch in which their last field goal was scored at the 9:40 mark in the third. And I don't believe they scored until maybe 1 or 2 minutes left in that third quarter, at least from field goals. Jared Allen did manage to get to the line. He drew some contact on Miles Turner on some of his drives. Some probably should have been called field goals, but Scott Foster and company just seemed to not like Cleveland. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, Cleveland had a lot of self-inflicted issues in that third quarter. There was a lot of carelessness with the basketball, and I really, really hated to see it. I mean, this is it was a uncharacteristically bad turnover night for this team. And this is not a team that tends to do that all that often. The Cavaliers actually rank pretty highly in terms of taking care of the basketball. They only turn it over 13 times per contest, which happens to be third best in the NBA, behind only the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics, each who turn it over 12 times per game. But tonight, that was just not the case. The Cavaliers turned the ball over what felt like an enormous times. And it only says 13 on the stat sheet, right? We only turned the ball over 13 times. But much of that came in the third and fourth quarter. It was not pretty. The Cavaliers just could not get it going. And it wasn't just the carelessness with the basketball. It was ice cold shooting. Cleveland would have finished the night shooting just 40% from the field and 11 of 41 from three-point range. That is good for 27%. Not going to cut it. Our usual sharpshooters in the likes of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell would round his game out by going 3 of 7 from three-point distance. But let me tell you, Donovan started off the game pretty shitty himself. Donovan, in particular, missed his first 6 field goals, right? He struggled to get his shot going. And while he would end the first half making all 4 of his next 4 attempts, it would not get much better on the night. Donnie would finish with just 19 points, 1 assist, 7 of 17 from the field, 3 of 7 from three-point distance, and was a -3 on the night. They gave him hell anytime he drove in, and he could just not knock down shots. And I understand that that's going to happen from time to time, but it was hard to watch at times. Evan Mobley, I thought Evan Mobley had a pretty decent game. 16 points, 12 rebounds, another double-double for him. But it often felt like nobody else was there to pick up the slack. A normally responsive bench unit was equally as bad. It was really, really stressful, as Dr. Claus 77 says down here. Trying to watch this and the Eagles game at the same time was extra stressful. Gave up two double-digit leads. Yes, Cavaliers, they were up 13 points entering the half, right? 53-40, and they sacrificed that like it was nothing. It evaporated, and much of that had to do with the fact that they were just so damn careless with the basketball in that third quarter, turning it over 6 or 7 times. And it just, that full court press that Rick Carlisle decided to deploy beginning in that third quarter, it really stymied things. The Cavaliers had a lot of difficulties trying to overcome that. And Andrew Nembhard, who started in place of Haliburton entering the half, he put in work. I'll just put it that way, right? Nembhard would end the game with 19 points, 4 assists. He shot a very efficient 7 of 11 from the field, including 2 of 4 from three-point distance. And he had 2 steals, right? Cavaliers, they only finished with 13, which is their season average. They averaged 13 turnovers per game, but each and every possession felt like it was monumentous. And there was a lot of momentum swinging happening in that third quarter. The Cavaliers, they would, try and stave them off, but each and every possession, it genuinely felt like the Cavaliers were just surrendering the ball way, way too easily. So it was not a pretty sight for much of the night. And when you really boil it down, right, the Cavaliers, they would surrender 20 points off of turnovers tonight. They scored 13 off of Indy's turnovers, but anytime you're surrendering 20 points off of turnovers, you just know that each one of those is back-breaking. It does not necessarily matter how many times you turn it over, as long as you're preventing that the other team from scoring once they do get that turnover. And I don't want anybody to misquote me or anything like that. Turnovers definitely matter, but it hurts even more if you turn the ball over and then immediately allow your opponent to score on the other end. It's one thing if it's a fast break, that type of thing. And there were a lot of those, as that full court press was really making it difficult for Cleveland to get over into the half court. But it just felt like there was a lot of sloppy turnovers tonight. And that's what really sticks with me outside of the piss poor shooting. But one of the things that happened tonight that I was not a huge fan of, the streak. The streaks were snapped. Not only the win streak, right? 12-game win streak. That hurts. But the Cavaliers, for the first time all season long, failed to crack the 100-point barrier. They had gone 37 fucking games doing it. And tonight was the night. I got to admit, I did not expect that happening coming into tonight. And that is no disrespect to the Indiana Pacers, who've been playing some of the best basketball of the season as of late. Again, they came in on a 5-game win streak. They came in with the league's second best offensive rating over that 5-game span and the 8th best defense. They've been putting in work, and a lot of it started with Haliburton. But it's not as if Haliburton and Siakam and company were doing things in that first half that led to me believing that this was going to be the end result. Yeah, they only scored 53 at the half, and I was wondering, hey, is this going to be the night? And we've had some of those close calls, but at the end of the day, it just felt as if Cleveland really shot themselves in the foot on a lot of these. It hurts, but at the end of the day, it's only one game. I hope that they turn that film on, though, and they look at a lot of these turnovers that were committed tonight, and they cut them out. Too much carelessness. The ice cold shooting, I can live with that, considering the fact the Cavaliers are the best shooting team in basketball from beyond the arc. Shooting 27%, that kind of shit is going to happen. But turning the ball over the way that they did in that third quarter, just been bad. Just been absolutely bad to watch tonight. Let's hop into the chat, shall we? I missed a lot of this just because I'm up here ranting, and it's just been crazy, man. D Jackson says, "Did you see Obi Toppin dunk?" I did. Hurts to see. I was for those of you who don't remember, who hadn't been watching the show or subscribed long enough to recall this, I was actually a fan of the Cavaliers drafting Obi Toppin over the likes of an Isaac Okoro back in that 2020 draft. And yeah, I get it. In retrospect, you can argue this or that. Or the Cavaliers should have drafted A or B or C. The 2020 draft was a crapshoot, but Obi Toppin coming from my hometown, or at least playing ball out of my hometown in Dayton for the Flyers, who got robbed of the chance to compete for an NCAA title because of COVID. Still pissed about that, by the way. Anytime Obi Toppin is not playing against the Cavaliers, I'm genuinely hoping the best for him, wishing the best for him, right? 12 points for Toppin tonight, 5 of 10 from the field, even dropped down a triple on us. Hate to see it happen against the Cavaliers, but I'm happy that he's playing some decent basketball. But I was just surprised at what we saw in that second half because, again, Siakam, Haliburton, they were struggling. But then turnovers and, they started to lock in offensively on the other end. And, the game was just out of reach by the time that the fourth quarter was midway through. The game was basically over. And one of the matchups that I was really, really looking forward to was that of Evan Mobley versus Siakam. And in 8 career matchups between the two, Siakam had gone 21 of 44, which is 47.7%, including 4 of 10 from three-point range, with Mobley as his primary defender. And what makes Siakam, as we all know, such a difficult matchup at times is his ability to space the floor. Standing around 6'9" or so, Siakam can suit up at the 3, but he's primarily lined up at the 4, his more natural position. That really honestly gives opposing force a tough matchup as he's able to draw his defenders out to the perimeter, where not all of them are quick enough or long enough to contest him. And frankly, this is the type of matchup where it pays to have guys like Dean Wade, who's going 7 of 14 as the primary defender against Siakam, or Isaac Okoro, even, who it's not a favorable matchup, I'll admit. 15 of 24 has Siakam gone against Okoro, which is good for 62.5% prior to tonight. But it pays to have different looks that you can throw, different bodies that you can throw at a player like Siakam, who has that size advantage over many fours that you would roll out there. And you know what? I thought for the most part, the Cavaliers' game plan was working in that first half. As again, Siakam, he struggled 2 of 10 entering halftime, just 4 points. And then he was able to get a shot going, and he was able to draw some contact and, knock down a couple of shots to really get rolling. And that's what happened in that second half. But the Cavaliers will see this team again on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, prior to their Thursday night matchup with the Oklahoma City Thunder, the rematch. Sucks that the streaks ended, but I'll live. I will live. I hope you guys will too. I see so much going on in this chat. Orrin Smith looks like a bunch of hating going on. Losing streak is on the way. Don't watch Tuesday. I'm not sure if Orrin is an Indiana fan. I'm not sure if he just doesn't like the Cavaliers, but hopefully that is not the case. Joe Turner says we just can't let this spiral into a losing streak with Indy, OKC, Minnesota, Phoenix, and Houston on deck. I don't think it will be, right? Again, this is just the 5th loss of the season. The Cavaliers, they've been pretty good at picking up the pieces after a loss. I mean, again, after the Cavaliers went on the historic run to open the season, they went on then to execute a 12-game win streak at another point in the season, which was just ended tonight. So maybe they start another streak after this loss. And this definitely felt to some fans like a trap game, but I hope that people seriously didn't feel that way, because this Indiana team had been really, really hot entering this matchup. And so Tuesday should be another competitive game, and we'll see if Tyrese Haliburton is available. Maybe we'll have to find out closer to, but this should be another highly contested matchup. And then OKC as the best team in the Western Conference, that's going to be fireworks, as that first matchup did numbers in terms of viewership. Minnesota, they have some pieces that can really muck things up for Cleveland. Phoenix, I'm not so worried about. Obviously Booker and Durant and Beal, they are capable scorers, but honestly, I just don't think they have what it takes to defend the front court pairing of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. I just don't think they can. And then Houston, that's the wild card. Ime Udoka, you never quite know what he's going to throw at you, and they have some pieces over there from a defensive standpoint that can really give you fits on the perimeter, in the likes of Thompson and the name escapes me, coming off the bench over there. I really liked him coming out of college, but there are just a lot of pieces that they have defensively over in Houston that can really give the Cavaliers some fits. D Jackson says we have another stretch of good teams coming up. We got to be focused. Yeah, I think so. Jonathan says couldn't make threes tonight, bottom line. I mean, obviously, that is definitely one of the bigger takeaways. Anytime you shoot 27% or so from three-point line, 11 of 41 overall, it's going to hurt. But I thought that the turnovers more so were the bigger problem to me. That is what eventually let this team back in it, right? That is essentially what let Indiana back in it, was the back-to-back-to-back possessions that ended in turnovers. Can't happen. D Jackson says, Mac, please tell me, where was JT Thor in garbage time? I don't know, man. I continue to feel like JT Thor should be given a chance at points, because he does have some size out there. He may not be a traditional big man, but he's good enough from a size standpoint and versatile enough to give you minutes anywhere between 3 through 5. But with the roster at full strength, not counting illness or anything, because Ty Jerome tonight was actually, in my opinion, going to be the first game all season in which the Cavaliers had everybody healthy and available, but that was not to be, as Ty Jerome was ruled out with illness. So sue me if I jinxed that. I'm sorry, but it was due to be the first game all season. I was very excited about it. So hopefully they're just gearing up for him to be healthy on Tuesday or Thursday, whichever. But assuming nobody's injured by then, it'll be really nice to have the entire roster available at Kenny Atkinson's disposal. But I don't want to beat a dead horse here. You guys know the reason why we lost tonight. Twofold: turnovers, poor shooting. Execution has to be better moving forward. And this has generally, again, not been the case. Cavaliers just the third, they're third in the league in terms of turnovers per game. Just 13 per outing. That's pretty damn good. Just 13 tonight, but they were all of them impactful in terms of allowing Indiana to get back in it. So we'll have to see what the team is able to do moving forward. Hopefully Kenny Atkinson uses this as a learning experience, a teachable moment for everybody out there, including the stars who, Darius turns it over 4 times. Not something that's happened very, very often this season. We were very accustomed with that version of Darius Garland last year. Donovan Mitchell turned it over 3 times himself. You got some turnovers from the likes of Strus, LeVert, and Niang. It did not feel good to watch them go out and have such poor execution. And that's really what it boils down to. The poor shooting, that sucks. That sucks tremendously. But the lack of execution, that's what haunts me the most. So I hope going into Tuesday's matchup with this very, very hot Indiana Pacers squad now, that I hope people are starting to take more and more serious. Execution is going to have to be not necessarily near flawless, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how things shake out. Never Lacked Media by Lit So Fire says, I don't think it was turnovers or threes. They stopped giving us our calls and the team got irritated. I think you can obviously, there's a component to this where we feel like the refs did not do the Cavaliers any favors. There were some calls that we all feel were missed. I agree with that. But I can't necessarily just blame it on the refs, because I do feel like Cleveland, whether or not the frustrations from the charity stripe or not getting calls bled over into like disengagement, and they were just being sloppy with the ball at that point. I think that there's something to be said about that. But at the end of the day, it does not matter if the refs are giving you those calls or not. You should still be taking it upon yourself to try not to be careless with the basketball. But I get it. I do think that was a component of the game that definitely swung momentum. Dr. Manhattan says, I'm still confident in this team. I just don't want them to lose. 33-5 is still good. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's going to happen. You will not win them all. Cavaliers still have the best record in the NBA. They still have a considerable lead over both the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. But dropping one always hurts. And hopefully they go back and, get back at the Pacers in Tuesday's rematch. And we'll see. Lockdown Publication says, please send Sam Merrill back to the G League. I can't agree there. I thought Merrill had a very poor game from a shooting standpoint, but Merrill does a lot of these other things on the court, like the facilitation. He has some very slick feats tonight. One in particular to Darius Garland when he drove in and was able to swing it around to Darius out on the wing, right? And Darius drilled a triple off of it. And then he had another one, if I'm not mistaken, to I think George Niang for a very, very beautiful triple. It's things like that Merrill is capable of that continue to earn him minutes. And especially in a night where you don't have Ty Jerome available, you got to go to somebody for a spark. And regardless if Merrill is knocking down the shots or not, he is a threat that the defense has to account for. So the reason why he is getting minutes is justifiable. But again, he only played 12. Let's put that in context, in the proper perspective. He only played 12 minutes tonight. I don't think anybody else on that bench, whether it be Craig Porter Jr. or Jalen Tyson, would have really done any better, considering that Karis LeVert had a pretty rough game himself, 0-3 from the field, and Isaac Okoro 1-5 from the field. And I don't think Isaac has actually knocked down a triple since returning. So who else were you going to give those minutes to? Max played 23. Isaac played 18, Karras played 22. Wade was 1 of 5 from the field, including all 5 of those shots from 3-point range. You didn't have anybody else to really turn to. So I don't know why you'd want to send him back to the G League. D Jackson says Pacers have home court advantage Tuesday. I'm not necessarily worried about that. It hasn't really mattered for the Cavaliers all season long. D Jackson also says, where's the money mates? I'm not sure. I am not sure. But before I bow out in a fit of rage over this loss that some could probably consider to be one of the more disappointing losses of the season, maybe even the worst, I'm just going to hit you guys with old reliable, right? And that is, if you'd like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you watch, right? And if you want to be added to this Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send any screenshots, head review to iscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. Again, the Cavaliers have a rematch with Indy coming up on Tuesday, and then we'll follow that up with a rematch against the Oklahoma City Thunder, which should be a very, very good game. That said, go Cavs. Oh, and if you're watching over on X, as I always say, go over to YouTube right now. Hit that like button. You never know how much you help a brother out by doing that. Subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber to the It's Cavalier podcast, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a beat of post-game coverage. Take it easy.